So good morning. This morning we're going to talk about how to take our action in the world and make it the right action by getting ourselves out of the way, which is kind of a lot to digest. But I wanted to bring in, I've been using these same verses all week in my classes, but taking them from different translations of the Bhagavad Gita and also the Yoga Sutras. This week, or today, our translation from the Bhagavad Gita comes from a man named Winthrop Sargent, and I really like his version. It's really excellent. It breaks down all the Sanskrit and everything. It's my joy to my little nerdly heart. But this translation is from chapter 2 of the Bhagavad Gita, verse 47 through 50. You might have heard this translated lots of other ways as well. So it's your right is to action alone, never to its fruits at any time. Never should the fruits of action be your motive, and never let there be an attachment to inaction in you. Fixed in yoga, and I think what he means by yoga here is that state of union. So fixed in yoga, perform actions, having abandoned attachments and having become indifferent to success or failure. Boy, that's something we can work on as an American society, having that indifference to success and failure. It is said that evenness of mind is yoga. So what we're looking for is the ability to do our dharma, do our work in the world, be aware of what we are called to and what is our responsibility, but to do that without any kind of attachment to personal gain or to, this is one that my partner and I get into it with sometimes, is like, well, this is the right way to do it, you know? Either way that we do it, his way or my way, like the job gets done. But there's like this sort of like, oh, but this is the way it should be done, or this is the way you're supposed to do it. I hate that word supposed. I hate it. So trying to figure out how to get our work done by getting our own ego out of the way, by letting go of our own attachment or our own desire to have it come out a certain way. And this is also reflected then in the Yoga Sutras. This is Swami Satchidananda's version of the Sutras. This is chapter 1, Sutra 12 through 16. So 12 is these mental modifications, and that's the fluctuations of the mind that we're always trying to slow down in yoga. So these mental modifications are restrained by practice and non-attachment. Of these two, effort towards steadiness of mind is practice. And I love the way he makes the whole entire yoga practice about being steady of mind. Practice becomes firmly established when well attended to for a long time, without break, and in all earnestness. So the only way, he says, to achieve this steadiness of mind, this state of yoga, is to practice for a long period of time without dropping off, which we've probably all experienced, that dropping off of practice. And to do that in a way that we are not attached to any outcome, to do it in a way that we are earnest in our efforts. The consciousness of self-mastery is one who is free from craving for objects seen or heard about, and that is non-attachment. When there is non-thirst, even for the gunas, which are those forms of the world, the changing forms of the world, when we've let go of all of our thirst for the world, due to the realization of our true self, Purusha, this is supreme non-attachment. And that makes sense if we are already whole, if we are experiencing our yogic wholeness, what is there to be desired? There's nothing. And I think about that, I always forget the name of the band, but All I Need Is the Air That I Breathe. You guys remember that beautiful song? I don't need a cigarette, I don't need a book to read, I don't need food, I don't need, it's all I need is the air that I breathe. Now, if that is not a state of yoga, it's a perfect example of that. So re-look up the lyrics to that if it's been a while since you've heard it. So what we're going to do is begin in our comfortable seat and find as best we can that steadiness of mind by first finding it in the body. And so that steadiness comes from our very foundation and from our very core. And that, of course, is the metaphor for how our yoga practice shows up in our lives. It has to be rooted in earnestness and the breath flowing in through the crown center and whooshing past that third eye center, kind of clearing out any preconceived notions and opening up to guidance, allowing the work to be done through us rather than trying to be the doer. We have a 2-breath action that we're going to take with our shoulders and arms. We'll begin with hands on the floor beside us. On an inhale, we'll turn up and let the palms press together. On our exhale, we'll pull into our heart center. Inhale, rising right back up. Exhale, sweeping back out to the floor. So from the earth, from the material world, we offer up to the divine. We pull that guidance into our hearts to be led. Then we offer our work right back up and allow it to manifest back in the physical world. So let's take about 3 more of these breaths. Last round. Just pause for a moment. Notice the action, the resonance or vibration of action in the shoulders. How maybe this lengthening or intention of our breath has also maybe changed our natural breath flow now. We're going to find our steadiness in a tabletop shape as well. We're going to find some twisting motion, but first we're going to find our steadiness again. So just like we did with our sacrum, let the hands be kind of broad and wide so that we're well grounded in the hands. Kind of press into that steadiness and allow that to open. This time it's the back of the heart center, so the shoulder blades are a little wide. And just kind of engaging. We have soft elbows, but firm hands and open heart. And from this shape, we're going to start to open the right arm out wide. The heart is also going to shift to the right. So we're kind of twisting, steady now on that left hand. Take a few cycles of breath here. See if you can lengthen your spine. See if you can find that small amount of engagement of our willpower. Then on an exhale, let's tuck that right arm under and find a little twist here. So heart's now shifted to the left. We can press into that left hand. Opening up the back of the heart a little further. Good. Take another breath here. And inhale to come back to our natural tabletop pose. We're pressing into that firmness of our hands. Opening the back of the heart center and swinging the left arm kind of open. Heart shifts to the left. Take a few cycles of breath. Lengthening the spine, gently engaging through the core. Then on an exhale, swinging that arm under the body, pressing into the left shoulder, pressing into the right hand, opening our heart to the right. So what we want to feel is that steadiness in the right hand, even as the heart shifts. Continuing to find that openness and that allowing attitude. On an inhale, come back to our table. Then from here, we're going to find a few stretches for our legs. So we'll bring the right leg back, press into the palms again. Find that stability in your hands and still that lift in the back of the heart. Eventually that right heel is going to drop towards the center of the mat. Left foot swings out wide, and again we open the body to the right. Right hand can reach up. It can also come to the hip or fall gently behind the body. But we want to keep that heart really open. We might choose to stay grounded through the right foot or lift the right foot high. If you do, see if you can find length between the crown and the heel or toes. Notice the steadiness of the left hand and the flexibility that's required to kind of hold our balance. If we're too rigid, we fall. If we're too soft, we fall. Good. Next, inhale. Start to bend at your right knee and step it forward. Right hand's gonna come either to the knee, the right knee, or inside the right foot. And we're just gonna sink down through the pelvis. So we're allowing through the pelvis, even as we press into the thigh or the floor, to open the heart. So we might have a little twist happening here, or straightforward, more of a dragon pose. So feel that balance again of where we are allowing and just being open, receiving, and where we're applying an appropriate amount of effort. In Sanskrit, the word is abhyasa, well-placed effort. Good. Start to bring yourself back so that your right knee is going to come out to the right. So we might have a leg straight or leg bent. We've got a little fire hydrant pose here. Good, then bring it back into table. Let's find those same poses on the left side. Left foot stretches back. We press into that steady foundation of our hands. Back of the heart is still open. Left heel and right foot come down to the right a little bit, opening up our hearts to that left side. Take a few breaths here just with the right foot, or excuse me, the left foot grounded, and feel the steadiness in your left hand rising, the steadiness in your right hand grounding, heart open in the middle. Maybe that left foot then rises from the mat, maybe not. A balance of steadiness and flexibility, effort and ease, is also that equanimity we call yoga. Take a few more breaths. See if you can stay really steady in your breath, that equal inhale and exhale. And eventually we're gonna bend into that left knee and step it forward. Left hand can come to the left knee or to the floor in between. Find ease in the hips as they sink down. Open and find a little effort in the heart, lifting and opening. So both through our effort and through our ease here, we find an opening. Find that equanimity. Releasing any ideas of success in this pose or failure in this pose, and just being present to what's happening. So we're going to try that tricky move again to see if we can bring that left knee out to the left, a little fire hydrant. Maybe leg is straight, maybe leg is bent. And then back to our tabletop shape. Back to those steady hands and open back of the heart. Knees might widen a little bit. We're going to send the hips back towards the heels. Reach the hands forward on the mat and just come into a child's pose shape. This pose is an ultimate allowing. Ideally, the shoulders are fully relaxed. The breath is soft. There could be some opening happening through the hips here, not by force or by pressure, but simply by softening and allowing. From our child's pose shape, take 3 more breaths. Big inhales into that back of the heart center. Start to spread your fingers a little bit wider. Get ready to bear some weight in the arms and hands again. And then as you inhale next, rising back into table, tucking the toes, and starting to press your way into our first down dog. Here we want to find that same sense of stability. So palms are wide, back of the heart is open. Press into the hands to find that lift. And we're going to take a little bit of challenge here. We're going to try to do so with that equanimity, so keeping breath soft. On your exhales, we're going to start to bend at the knees and almost touch the floor. Just a little hover. Maybe they touch down for a second and then lift back up as you inhale. So exhales are bringing the knees to bend, almost back to table. Inhaling to rise into down dog, exhaling to touch the knees toward the floor. 2 more. As your knees come down, take a little pause here. We're gonna try to do something a little challenging. So bring that right leg back behind you. Keep your hips level. You can point or flex your foot here. And see if we can rise with just the left foot underneath us back into down dog, only 3 limbs. So we're trying to keep that right leg lifted and just kind of bring, and we might not dip as low this time. Maybe we just bend the left knee a little bit as we dip. If you can come all the way to the floor, cool, but no pressure to do it that way. Seeing if we can keep that same equanimity that we had when we had all 4 limbs on the floor. Maybe take 1 or 2 more dips here. And then stepping that right foot forward between the hands, high lunge, back knee is still lifted. Inhale and rise up. Yes, beautiful. Nice and graceful arms, guys. So reaching up tall through the hands. Back heel might be lifted or grounded. Next, inhale, straighten the right leg. Back heel is grounded now. Exhale, hands come to hips or opposite elbows, or reverse namaste, or press into the sacrum. Lift and open your chest. Feel the balance of this pose. It's not particularly steady. See if you can find that balance of fluidity and groundedness. Good. As you exhale, release your hands. Maybe we bend into that right knee again to bring hands to blocks or floor. And then inhale, lift the left leg. Maybe it's just a few inches off the mat. Maybe it's a high standing split. Maybe it's more of a warrior 3 variation. But just kind of lift and feel the balance. Next, exhale, let both feet come to the top of the mat, ground through both feet and softly hang. Uttanasana. Feel the effort in the standing leg to push against the floor and the hips kind of rising, and then a total passivity and softness. As we press into the floor with the feet, we feel an expansion or opening at the backs of the legs. But as we relax and soften the upper body, we feel that same opening in the back of the heart and the back of the neck. From this forward fold shape, ground through both hands, bend at the knees if you need to, and step back again, find downward facing dog. All 4 limbs on the mat, spread the fingers, get a nice strong base of support here. Feel that little hollowness coming into the belly, even as you find an openness at the back of the shoulders. And let's try our tricky move again. So inhale to lift your left leg. We're in 3-limb downward facing dog. On your exhales, bend into the right knee. Maybe a little, maybe a lot. Maybe you come all the way towards the floor. Maybe we just dip an inch lower. So any variation is still doing the work. Notice what is your work to do in this pose and what's not. See if you can keep your hips kind of level as if all 4 limbs were on the floor. Feel the hard work. See if you can remain in a balanced state of breath and a balanced state of effort and ease. Maybe 1 more dip. And then we'll step that left foot forward between the hands again. High lunge, right knee is still lifted. Inhale, rise up through the torso. And let the fingers reach. Heart is forward and open. Let the hips sink low just like we did in our other lunges this morning. Opening through the heart. Find your steadiness. Inhale, left knee straightens. Exhale, hands either hips or reverse namaste, opposite elbows, interlaced. Lift and open the heart a little more. Feel the balance of the pose. You might feel your body shifting left and right or forward and back, maintaining its balance. This is the perfect way to visually and emotionally and physically feel that balance of effort and ease. A little bit of effort keeps us balanced, but we have to keep enough ease to allow ourselves to move. into that left knee again. Hands are releasing to frame. And gently, we're gonna rise up through that right foot. Maybe it's just a little lift. Maybe it's a warrior 3 variation. Maybe it's a standing split. But again, feel the strength and power in your standing leg. Where could you soften a little bit more to bring a little bit more ease into this challenging balance? Eventually bringing both feet to the floor, finding Uttanasana again. Solid through the legs and feet, pressing into the floor to lift the hips, effort. And softening the upper body to relax and open the back of the neck and the back of the shoulders. Ease. Good. From here, we're going to find our flat half lift back. So hands might be at shins or thighs, but we're going to lengthen from crown to tailbone. Knees might be softly bent or pressing heels into the floor to lift. So either one, notice what will bring you the most balance of effort and ease here. Reach your hands in front of you, lift, and then roll your way back up. Reach tall, exhale, hands to heart center. Come back to that equanimity, both feet on the floor. Body relax. If you can shift your alignment for head, heart, and hips, and heels, all lined up. We're going to trust ourselves here to open ourselves a little bit more. So shift weight into your left foot. Right knee is going to draw up towards the chest. Maybe we wrap around, maybe we don't. But knee in towards the chest. We might stay here. We might also choose to extend that leg a little bit, maybe grasping for the toes or supporting underneath the thigh. Then we're going to start to draw the right knee out to the side. So knee again could be bent and we just draw it out, or maybe we start to straighten that leg out a little bit. Lots of options. Arms can help you balance here. That same opening also brings balance. The balance brings the opening. It's all one thing. Let's move into a tree pose from here. So right foot's going to come to that left leg somewhere, high or low. And then press into the floor. Feel how that pressure and that steadiness opens your upper body. Hands could be high or at heart, at hips, they could be anywhere. So feel where that feels appropriate. Maybe it's open, maybe it's steady. Let them help each other. Feel the shifting in that left ankle. Excellent. Then return your right foot to the mat, nice and slow with control if you can, and just kind of step off the left foot for a minute, kind of shake it out. Let's find those same practices of balance on the other side. So shifting weight into the right foot, left knee to chest. Maybe we wrap around, maybe not. After a few breaths, we might choose to practice extending that leg, either supporting underneath the thigh or grasping for the toes. So any of those can work. After a few more breaths, we're going to bring that left knee out to the left. And again, knee could be bent or leg could be straight here. Lots of ways to take this pose. Find the one that suits your needs today for a balance of effort and ease. Checking out only what is your work to do in this pose. Eventually we'll find a tree pose from here, so when your body gives you the signal, let your left foot come to rest on your right leg, high or low. Press into that right leg and lift. Feel how that steadiness offers openness. Again, find a place for your hands, either steadiness by pressing palms together, or maybe openness somewhere. Feel the right ankle, and it's kind of ever questing for balance by moving and adjusting. Excellent. When you feel ready, let that left foot gracefully as you can come back down to the mat. Soften the arms out wide and just kind of give yourself a little bit of twisting. We're going to take a few more versions of these same balancing shapes. We're going to do so in a way that's much easier to balance. So we're just going to come all the way down to the spine on the mat. Softly bringing your sacrum, shoulders, and the back of your skull to the mat. Knees might be bent for the moment. Finding a place for your arms. They could be down by your side like Shavasana or out wide in some way. The left leg's going to extend long and right knee stays bent. Right knee is going to fall open to the right. So basically we have fallen tree pose. And just allowing for opening to happen, perhaps some support underneath that right knee feels good. Feel free to do that. We're trying to open this same area we took standing, but notice now there's not so much wobble, not so much effort. Just allowing that to open the inner right thigh. Maybe from here we draw that right knee back to center and in towards the chest. Maybe hands wrap around, maybe they don't. Maybe we extend that right leg long towards the ceiling with or without the support of our hands. Then we're going to try one more opening here. This time we're going to try to hover the leg. So maybe the leg is straight, maybe the leg is slightly bent or very bent, but bring it out to your right side. Maybe there's the support of your right hand underneath the leg, or maybe we grasp for the toes to find that straight leg opening. Just a few breaths, no strain, grounding through that left hip. Then eventually drawing the knee back to center, right sole of the foot comes to the floor, left leg is still extended long. Take a big inhale into your low belly, then press into your right foot. Lift the sacrum even if it's only a half an inch off the floor. Maybe it's a little higher, maybe not. Just feel the effort just in the right side. Let the left toes and legs be soft, let the face be soft. On an exhale, release your sacrum back down. Right knee is still bent. We're going to draw that back in towards the chest. Left hand coming to the outside of that right knee. We're going to just draw it over to the left side. It may or may not come towards the floor, but just crossing the body to open the back of the sacrum a little bit. About 3 or 4 more breaths here. Listen for your body's signal to come back to center. As you come back to center, both soles of the feet coming to the floor, both knees are bent. Maybe we take a little mini bridge pose here, or maybe the knees come both in towards the chest and we rock side to side here. So kind of finding your neutralization. And eventually, left sole of the foot comes to the floor, right leg extends long. We're just gonna let that left knee fall open, fall in tree pose again. Ideally, this is mostly passive. If it doesn't feel passive in that left thigh, maybe some support under the left knee could be beneficial. Softness in the breath, allowing the opening to happen. Letting go of the work of tree pose, the balancing work, and just allowing the muscles to find their benefits. And we'll find our same postures that we found while we were standing. Left knee will come back to center. Maybe we draw that in towards the chest. Perhaps we want to extend that leg long and up towards the ceiling. We can cradle the back of the left thigh behind interlaced fingers. We could also reach for the toes or the foot or ankle here as we extend. Maybe the knee just stays bent, up to you. And that left leg can come out left to the left side of the mat. Maybe the left hand supports underneath. Maybe it reaches for the toes again and we just hover that leg. Maybe the knee is still bent, but we're just kind of gently hovering rather than finding that tree shape. So find the variation that works best for your body and for your balance of effort and ease today. Eventually that knee comes back to bend back towards center. Right hand to the outside of that left knee and just gently allow the left leg to cross the body. It may or may not come to the floor, but just find your soft twist. Feel an expansion or opening happening at the back of the sacrum. Just a few more breaths. When you're ready to come back to center, let the left foot ground against the floor. Right leg is still long and extended. Take a nice breath into your low belly, then press into your left foot. Even if it's just a half an inch, lift your sacrum a smidge off the floor. Feel some effort. And then gently placing the sacrum back down, bending at both knees. Maybe we find a more regular style bridge here where we press into both feet. Maybe both knees come in towards the chest. Just finding your neutralizing movement or motion. Then we'll take a little bit more effort here before we find our way to resting. So we can rock and roll along the spine to come back to seated or turn to your side and press up. But we're gonna land with the soles of the feet wide and in front of us. We have some options on how we take boat pose. We have bridges, boats, we got all kinds of things. So one way to do this is to just softly bring hands to the backs of the thighs, lengthening through the spine and letting the heels lift off the floor. And then again, you have variations you can do with how high or low your shins are. You can also grasp for the toes. And same thing, kind of keep the knees bent or extend the legs long. You can also come wide in a shape like that. You can also let the hands be free to rise or come wide. And again, heels can be high or low. The important part here is the long spine. Come in and out of the pose. Take a few breaths in it, relax, and take a few breaths out. Take a few breaths in the pose and a few breaths back out. Listen to your body. Find a balance of effort and ease. Maintaining that flat back as the most important part of this pose. Challenging yourself to stay even in that equanimity, that state of yoga between breaths, effort and ease. Take the next 10 to 12 breaths, coming in and out of the pose at will. Let yourself be guided as to when you need a break or to change your variation. Only thing that should be consistent here is your smooth breath and your flat back. So coming in and out as needed. When you're ready to let go of all the effort in this pose and come down for good, we're gonna kind of dock our boat by bringing the heels back to the floor. And keeping our upright spine, we're just gonna let the knees fall open. So again, hands might support the knees here. They can also just allow the knees to come fully down towards the floor. Soles of the feet can be together close to the body or far from the body. So just notice which of those feels best to you. And again, we have that same opening at the inner thigh. Paused. No balancing here, just allowing. Keep the steadiness in the sacrum and the sitting bones. See if you can soften the legs and feet enough to allow the opening to happen. On an inhale, reach your arms straight up. On your exhale, bring your hands behind the body, start to lean back, lift and open the heart. Let the chin start to rise. We're not dropping the back of the head, but just lifting the chin. Then release this sort of cow front body, come more neutral. Bring both soles of the feet back to the floor and wide. Then we're going to find a little bit of deer. So legs falling to one side. You could start with either one, walking around the body, twisting, looking over your opposite shoulder. You can also come down to forearms or to the belly here. Feel where there's effort and make sure it's supporting the pose. No effort in the jaw is going to help you hold this pose any better. So differentiating between what is the right work, where is the effort well placed, Vinyasa, well placed effort. Where is there ease? About 3 or 4 more breaths in whatever variation of this twist you've taken. At the end of your breath cycle, start to walk your way back to center and just switch sides. So knees falling the other direction, twisting the body around, looking over your opposite shoulder. Maybe we stay here on hands, maybe we lower down. But soften through hips. Keep effort in the body to maintain your openness. Keep ease in the body where it contributes to that openness. Evenness of breath. Evenness of effort and ease. Letting go of ideas of success or failure in this twist pose and just being present with it, that equanimity that we call yoga. Three or 4 more breaths here. Walk your way back to center. We're going to come back to that flat spine. So soles of the feet on the floor, sacrum, shoulders, and skull on the floor. We're going to find some variations of those exact same poses that we took. So first bringing the soles of the feet either together or close to each other. So this might look like kind of a halfway between bound ankle and happy baby. But allow the tailbone to stay pointing down, even if that arcs the spine a little bit. And either take a happy baby or that sort of supine bound angle shape where feet are together. Find a balance of effort and ease here. And relax the feet away from this shape, whether it's whichever ones you've chosen, and keeping that super flat back against the spine. Let's recreate our boat pose. So maybe the knees were bent and the shins were sort of parallel to the floor. So if you can find them parallel to a wall now. Maybe the legs were straight, maybe the legs were wide. But notice that same flat back, only this time the core is not nearly as engaged. So we're not also balancing. This is how balancing it should feel. When we can do an upright boat pose in the same way as we've done this pose, we know we've nailed it. Excellent. Relax your feet back down to the floor, and just here, we're not going to do a full deer twist, but just allow the knees to kind of very slowly windshield wiper to one side and pause for a breath or two. working into hips, preparing them to soften for our final rest. When you feel ready, notice if there are any other movements that your body needs, maybe knees to chest or some other kind of rocking. Maybe you'd like to take a brief bridge or some other kind of soft inversion. And then we'll start to make our way into resting pose. No rush to arrive there. So as you let go of action, as you start to find a steadiness that is even more steady than anything we did while we were standing or seated, with so much of our body in contact with the floor, with some kind of support, we can find that ultimate steadiness. And bringing ourselves into that equanimity, first noticing as you find your stillness, your breath. Noticing that the breath and the heart are always moving, even when we find stillness in the body. And we offer our respect to our lungs and to our circulatory system for continuing its work even as we find stillness. Let's also, in a way of honoring yoga or the state of yoga, let's also offer that same respect and gratitude to our mind, which continues to work even when we find mental stillness or meditation. That it's okay for, just like your heart and lungs, it's okay for your mind to continue doing what it does. The idea is that we also don't fiercely monitor our heart and lungs unless there's an issue. Let's allow our mind to do whatever it does and just see if we can find that stillness. If you begin to have thoughts that are distracting or disquieting, just simply notice, I am having distracting thoughts, and let it go. Just allow it to be. A deeper stillness. The balance of the effort of our heart and lungs and breath and blood and thoughts, along with the ease of the rest of our body, the ease of our actively thinking components of the mind. And just simply watch the movement from your stillness. Your right is to action alone, never to its fruits at any time. Never should the fruits of action be your motive. And let there be no attachment to inaction in you. Fixed in that state of yoga, perform actions having abandoned attachment and become indifferent to success or failure. This evenness of mind is yoga. One whose wisdom is established casts off here in the world both good and evil actions, devoted to that state of yoga, because yoga is skill in action. Feel both the steady stillness of the body and the mind, and the consistent effort of the heart, the lungs, and the thinking mind. Feel the equanimity between the two, that when we find stillness, we are more aware of the movements within. That even as we find stillness in the body and the mind, we are aware of the movements of the world, of the gunas. Just staying in that place of witnessing, of equanimity, of balance. Focus your awareness and attention on any movements within the body that are related to breath and circulation. Begin to deepen the breath, elongating the breath. And bringing that skillfulness to our action. Begin to allow that deeper breath to allow or make space for small movements to begin in the body. Beyond our heart, beyond our lungs. Finding movements in maybe the face, the hands, and the feet. And equally, as we observe the mind moving, we can also observe and expand our awareness to include any movements of the world, maybe sounds or sights outside of the body. And eventually start to stretch yourself out as if to place yourself deeper into the world, but remaining in that state of calm equanimity. Eventually begin to reverse the direction and start to draw everything in, as if to invite the whole universe into yourself. Inviting the big S self into the small s self, opening yourself up and then drawing everything inward. And just hold that for a few rounds of breath and feel that experience. And eventually finding your way maybe to your side, and then working your way back upright into a seat. allowing that balance of effort and ease to guide your actions so that we're not rushing. Being mindful about the placement of the bottom half of the body against the floor to create that stability, that evenness, weight distribution, lifting and opening the heart. Let's bring the hands again to the floor beside us. And as we inhale, sweeping up all of the abundance of the world, bringing it between the palms, and then drawing it into the heart center. And from this place, offering all the work that we do back to the source of our lives, the source of our breath, the source of this world. And offering ourselves in service to that, allowing it to move through us rather than trying to be the doer. Getting out of our own ways so that the actions we take in the world are for the right direction. Unimpeded, abundant, and open. And so we close our practice with this prayer of service. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. May all beings be happy, healthy, safe, and free. Namaste.